Hi guys, welcome to Keystone Prep. We are on ACE constructed responses. Our guiding question is, what is the ACE approach? And we're going to use prove it to me language by the end of the lesson and the ACE approach within our constructed responses for Keystone Prep. So if you recall from our last lesson, prove it to me language, you should have 5 of these phrases or words in your pocket. Things like nevertheless, in addition, however, in spite of, so that, one way, the author did this by, since, therefore. These are terms that you should be using in your constructed response. You should be using at least 3 for your 3-point constructed response to get a 3 on your rubric being graded on the Keystone. So we have constructed responses make up 35% of the possible exam points. We are going to talk about using that prove it language, and the topic sentence should include the main idea of the passage. So not only did we use prove it language, but we've also been using the ACE approach. So you might remember in the beginning of the year, we talked about race. We restated, we answered the question, we cited, and we explained. So this is kind of the same way. We're going to be using the ACE. So by using this approach in your writing, you will use ACE to answer your questions. Statistically, if you score a 3 on every constructed response question, you'll be set up to earn a proficient on the Keystone exam. So ACE stands for assertion or answer, cite examples, and explain. So if you make an assertion, you begin with a sentence that must be proven. Often this will be a restatement of the main idea. So you're restating the main idea and you're explaining that. To cite an example, this means that you need to pull an example from the passage. You can either quote it or paraphrase it, and explain your examples using the prove it to me language that I read in the first slide. So we're going to take a closer look at assertions. You could also call these topic sentences. An assertion is not a statement of fact. It's a sentence that you have to prove and support. So for nonfiction prompts, the assertion should be that the main idea of the passage. For fiction prompts, the assertion should be the theme of the passage. So we're going to go through these assertions and we're going to read the sentences and determine whether they are assertions by saying yes or no. So our first one is, dogs are truly man's best friend. This is an assertion because it's an opinion. Some people prefer cats. You would have to use examples to prove your opinions about cats. While dogs are domesticated, they're closely related to wolf. So no, this is not an assertion because it's a fact. You don't need to argue this statement because there's nothing to prove. On July 4th, Americans celebrate the birth of the nation. Again, this is not an assertion because it's just a fact. So if you kind of think back to our Keystone Prep from about 2 weeks ago, we talked about fact and opinion. It's kind of what we're doing here when we do assertion or not an assertion. So on 4th of July, true Americans show patriotism by honoring armed forces. Yes, this is an assertion because it's making an opinion statement about how true Americans act. People show patriotism and celebrate the 4th of July in a number of ways. Okay, so basically an assertion is your opinion that you're proving to the test grader. The author uses statistics to persuade the audience that adopting a rescue dog is better than buying a puppy. This is an assertion because you have to prove how the author is using statistics to support the main idea of the passage, that adoption is better than purchasing a puppy. The author states that volunteer groups organize the adoption of rescued dogs. This is not an assertion because it's a fact cited by the author. So we have a couple more. So number 7, the provided sentences represent a conflict between the father and his son, Billy. This is an assertion because it's proving how conflict is being used. Also sounds like it might begin to address the theme of a fictional piece. In the story, the dad and Billy fought all the time. This is not an assertion because it's just an event in the plot. There's nothing to analyze or prove. Number 9, Julia's thoughts reveal that she regrets her move to the city. This, yes, is an assertion because you would have to analyze Julia's thoughts. You'd have to use examples from the passage to prove that Julia regrets her move. Julia moved to the city in August when it was hot and overcrowded. Again, this is not an assertion because it is an event in the plot. There's nothing to analyze or prove. So, an assertion can be an opinion or it is some type of response where you have to prove and analyze it. So, we are going to be looking at this race. Like I said, had the race method before. We're going to try ACE, which, like I showed you, is assertion, cite examples, and explain. So there's also a video attached that you can watch. So our guiding question is, what is the ACE approach? At the end of the lesson, you should be able to use prove it to me language and the ACE approach within constructed responses.